to gain access to the audio recording. We will not be sharing the video, only the audio, along with screen shares of our presenters. However, we do ask you to omit your last name when sharing to protect our anonymity. I will now ask our Zoom facilitator to begin the recording. Anyway, these sharing sessions will be held on the last Tuesday of each month at 7 p.m. Eastern Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Time. We might adjust days and times during the holidays. The idea that sparked these sharing sessions came from a discussion between AA members at the 2023 National AA Technology Workshop, NAATW. It was agreed that our community of technology trusted servants needed a platform to share ideas and experience with technology throughout our fellowship. We are currently looking to connect with AA technology trusted servants throughout the US and Canada. We are now in our second year and technology continues to grow at a rapid pace around the world and throughout our fellowship. We welcome input and encourage communication and engagement from all of you on future topics and ideas. We are looking to share with each other and have fun. We are not a glum lot. How to get in touch with us, you ask? Well, you can send us an email, and we also now have a Slack channel. For these sharing sessions to evolve long-term, we need your participation. The text sharing session Slack channel is a great platform to engage with each other. We also connect and participate with the Technology AA Forum. These links will be posted in the chat. There may be several links and other information posted in the chat throughout the session today. But no need to worry about collecting all that data, as we will send out all that information with the links when we send out the audio. And again, it will be available in our Slack channel. Lastly, please consider these sharing sessions as a learning group. Very few of us are experts in the technology field. We are just AA members that serve our local areas, districts, and groups. And because of that, we know a little and have experience to share. With that in mind, let's get to today's topic. The topic today is hybrid setups, a simple, low-cost setup. After the presentation, we'll have a 30 minutes for questions and sharing. We will close at 8:30 Eastern Time, 5:30 Pacific Time. Our presenter today is Scott W. I will let him introduce himself in more detail. With that, Scott, you have the floor.
Hey everybody, Scott Alcoholic. I appreciate that introduction. So I am currently on the Area 26 Technology Committee. I've been on the committee since after their very first hybrid event. And yeah, I've actually been on the committee for most of my sobriety. I've been sober for 3 years and 3 months. And so shortly after I got sober, my sponsor, who is heavily involved in service work, got me said I'd be great on the technology committee and kind of thrust me in there. So I've been going to every area since then and helping them with their setup. So yeah, let's get started. Can somebody throw me? Can I share? I can share.
Yes, you have to share. You can share.
Oh, it says I had to request it. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I put together a presentation. I put the link in the chat, but if you can see my screen, it's also got a little QR code here for you. So Area 26 is comprised of all of Kentucky and a small part of southern Indiana. Can you guys see my screen okay? Am I sharing the right one? Yeah.
QR code.
We're seeing the admin view. If you have a presentation mode, or if you may want to go to full screen mode.
Yeah, I'll just go to full screen mode here. Maybe. There we go.
Or hit slideshow in the upper right. Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
Excellent.
It might have been good if I wrote notes in the presenter, but I didn't do that. So anyway, so yeah, Area 26 is all of Kentucky and a little part of southern Indiana, Clark and Floyd County. Um, we uh, we get about 100 people 4 times a year. We have 2 assemblies and 2 meetings, and so we get 100 people in person and roughly 30 to 50 online. Um, And so our requirements from the area when they purchased all of the equipment, and we'll talk about the equipment here in a minute, but the requirements were that they wanted the Zoom participants to be able to participate just the same way that a person that is in person could participate. So, voting and, being able to speak at the mic, and I use the mic in air quotes there because and obviously, there's some coordination that has to happen there. You have to keep things muted when they need to be muted and things like that. People have to raise their hand if they want to speak and things like that. But it's completely manageable. And I heard some people talking before the meeting started about there being some resistance to voting and things like that. Technophobes, I think, was a term that I heard thrown around, and we do have some of that. Uh, we have people who feel like Zoom is an easier, softer way, but then we have people who get on Zoom who have mobility issues. We have people who get on Zoom who are doing it from the hospital or various other issues. So I don't know that I'm sure some of the people that attend via Zoom are just because it is easier, but it's also cheaper because Kentucky is kind of spread out. If we have it in Paducah, it's 3.5 hours away from the other side of the state, and so it's it certainly has get expanded access for people to be able to attend and feel like they're part of. But it's important that it's done in a specific way so that people do feel like they're a part of and they're not just an afterthought. And there are some specific things that we've done to do that, and there's some improvements that we could make to do that to make them feel more included too. And I'll talk about that a little later. But our area meetings are it's 2 days. It's Saturday and Sunday. We have a main room where all of the business is conducted on Saturday and Sunday, but on Saturday we also have 6 breakout rooms that are our committee meetings. And so 6 of them will happen between like 11 and 12, and then 6 others will happen between 1 and 2, and they'll usually break for lunch, or we'll do it from 10 to 11, 11 to 12. But so then there's some discussion on do we really need to have those committee meetings in person at the time that we do our area meetings, or could that be done the weekend or two before? And the reason that is because it obviously adds equipment, right? And we'll see that later. About $300 per breakout room is how much equipment is in there. But it also adds cost to the venue. If you have to have breakout rooms, um, obviously it's more expensive. So in the main room, we have obviously the stage and we have an overhead projector. And sometimes, not all the time, it just depends on it's like a philosophical discussion going on whether or not we need side projector screens. In the original requirements, the chairperson that had those requirements did want side projector screens. The current chair doesn't really seem to mind not having them, or they're not important to them. So sometimes they don't get set up. We have other people who feel like it's more immersive if you have side projector screens and you can have a gallery view on one, and that way you can see all of the Zoom people. And then some people think that that's distracting because you see, when people are on Zoom, they sometimes have a tendency to get up and go do things. But anyway, the current setup, although it doesn't always happen, is overhead projector and 2 side projector screens. And then we have a floor camera and a floor mic, and that's just for people, just like it says, getting up at the floor mic. Then we have a podium camera and a podium mic. We have a third camera that's just for a wide shot of the audience that's not really used that often. It's mostly used at breaks and if hands are raised and things like that. Not that anybody can make out individual hand raising, but for the people on Zoom, the feedback we've gotten is it makes them feel more a part of the room um, and things like that. For the breakout rooms, for the breakout rooms, we have a computer, a TV, like a 42-inch TV, 40-inch TV, a webcam on top of that TV, and then we have a condenser mic that goes into the middle of the room, and we set the room up in a circle. Functionality requirement, I kind of already said it. They should be able to see and hear what's going on, obviously, in a clear way. They should be able to be seen and heard when appropriate. And then for voting, we've come up with a way to keep track of who should vote by just using a naming convention. We don't allow people to rename themselves. We identify them as a voting member. And once we've identified them, we put a one in front of their names. And then when people raise their hands to vote, if a vote is going on, then we count the people with ones next to their names. Sometimes somebody with a two next to their name or with nothing next to their name, if they haven't been identified, will try to vote, and the Zoom operator will just not count that vote. We haven't seen any issues of people voting who shouldn't vote, at least it not being counted. I mean, it's very, very easy to keep track of. And especially, I mean, everybody's hearts are, in the right place. So nobody's trying to sway a vote. We got bigger issues to work on. Um, Zoom operators. So, well, I'll talk about that later. We do Zoom admin is a role that is very needed because in order to break people out into those breakout rooms, because inside Zoom we'll have 6 breakout rooms. It's important that the Zoom operator is there to help those people get to the breakout rooms because people will come in late. And invariably, we thought we could just, like, if I have a technology committee meeting to go to, then I could just up until, maybe 4 or 5 minutes into the meeting, I could help people get there and then I could go to the meeting. But the truth is people come in late and, 11:05, people are still trying to get into the right breakout room and we didn't have any Zoom admins. So it is important to have one or two dedicated Zoom admins that don't necessarily want to be in a breakout room. So the equipment that we use, we have a PC, and we decided to go with a physical, actual desktop PC, mostly because of issues we were having with the webcams. We use standard 1080p Logitech webcams. And I know that the title of this was an affordable or cheap. I can't remember what the title. Um, it is a cheaper alternative to, I think, one of the Washington areas presented a solution that I think was kind of like Tech 12, like they kind of just took Tech 12's equipment and just copied it and bought it. We don't have that kind of money, and so this was kind of a poor version of that, I guess you could say. But in my opinion, this could be done. The tech table part could also be done with just a $500 laptop, especially if it was a laptop that had several USB ports on it, or you could probably use a USB 3 hub. The issue that we were having with the webcams is you couldn't do the full 1080p if you were hooking 3 of them up onto the same PCI bus. So we wanted a desktop solution that had two different PCI buses for the USB. That's just bandwidth thing. The mixer board we're using is actually I have these. These are is just it's just a mixer, and we're using we're using 2 inputs right now, and the output on the back. So we have 2 microphones. I don't know how to get out of this. So we have a mixer board, and that's about $150. We use a Stream Deck, and that's just got a bunch of, I guess I could click on that. This is kind of a little fancy device that lets you take the different cameras. So if you have somebody that's at the floor cam, you could just click the button and it'll send you over to the floor. It'll switch it and it'll show the Zoom people just the floor cam. And then, but obviously there's more buttons on here. So you could do the way that we normally do it is we do a podium cam, we'll do a floor cam, we'll do a podium cam and a floor cam and you can adjust these whatever sizes you could do as just a side by side, or you could do like a tiny um, floor cam and a big podium cam if the person at the podium is going to be doing most of the talking. It's just more engaging if you have different views. And so you can set that up. You can even set up an animated GIF that's like an applause or something. It's kind of fun stuff you can do. If you're going to run side projectors, then I put $500 in here, but honestly, I think one of them that we just put a zoom view on, it is like the brickiest, crappiest laptop. Like it takes like 20 minutes to get it set up because it has to boot. And but didn't have to be a whole lot. And then on the other side projector, we usually run a long HDMI cable so that we can send documents over just for bigger view and stuff like that. So $500 for a laptop. And then side projectors, I mean, that's as much as you want to spend depending on how many lumens you want and stuff like that. But we have a wireless mic, and this is a good wireless mic. Amazon has a bunch of other ones that are cheaper. I don't know if those work well, but this is just what we already had on hand before they even went hybrid. They had that for their audio setup. And then a wired mic. We run an XLR cable all the way. And this, I'm just listing the equipment, and I've got some pictures here in a minute too. PA speakers. Um, those are kind of a dime a dozen. Since we actually have an amp here, $300 Rockville amp here again, they already had that. They can be passive speakers, so passive speakers are cheaper than speakers that have an amp built into them. So, and then we have the breakout rooms there on the bottom. Okay, $400 each breakout room. So a mini PC for $150, $150, which is kind of high now. TVs have gone down. Then a keyboard, a mouse, a puck microphone, and a webcam. And that's the list of equipment with prices. So here's kind of our setup. We've got our tech table here on the left. We've got two speakers in the front of the room, two speakers in the back of the room. What we found in the beginning when we had just two speakers was in order for the people in back to hear, you had to have them up so loud the people in the front were like, whoa. So we've got four speakers. I've already talked about the crowd cam, podium cam, floor cam, and then the side projectors. And so the cabling that's required, the green cables here are USB cables. These are the ones that seem to take the beating the most. USB is not really made to be ran that far. I think we have 50-foot cables. They are active cables, but I mean, I don't know how much power they're really getting from the USB port. You don't plug them into the wall. And we seem to kind of be trending to replace one of those an event. So it's about, I think, $70, $60, $70. Now we're trying to be more careful with those and we're not just because sometimes we divide and conquer who takes the equipment away. So we're trying to make sure that one of the people who are kind of the core tech committee members take those cables just to make sure they don't get kind of thrown around. But so yeah, USB ran to each of the cameras. We do have the side projectors, obviously they need HDMI, but we have a fancy device we just used. We've been using this for the last, so the top right-hand corner here, this little wireless HDMI thing works pretty well for just kind of dumb side projectors. So we have been setting up a crappy laptop at one of the side projectors, so we don't need any cables other than the power, and the venue runs that. And then on the other, then we can set up this device here, and it just needs USB power, and it plugs into the HDMI of the projector. So for 130 bucks, that took out that cable, which any cable that we can get rid of is welcome. But other than that, we also have obviously the XLR that has to run to the speakers and to the podium mic. And then, yeah, the HDMI side projectors. What else? Yeah, that's it. So, you know, and obviously non-technical people can help with this if you can set it up ahead of time and label it and just say, hey, I need you to run this to the middle of the floor there where take a mic stand and say, hey, run that to this mic stand. Our tech table layout here is just our computer, that Stream Deck, the mixer, the wireless mic up here, and then the amp for the speakers, which we try to use the in-house system if we can, just because it's usually set up better, and it's overhead and it's not going to blast anybody out. And so the speakers and the amp are just used just in case. And we do bring them to every event. We had an incident where we were told the in-house system's working, it's good. And then when we got there, the guy was like, no, that hasn't worked in 5 years. And we didn't bring the speakers. So, but as usually happens, God is good and it all worked out. Somebody made a call and knew somebody that was in a band and must have sucked because they weren't working on a weekend. And so we got speakers. Um, I should have said that because thank you, Guy. I should have said that. Okay, laptop, side laptop here. Yeah, it's just a side laptop for those Zoom admin, and the side projector usually is what we do for that. And that's our tech table. Our breakout room. So we have obviously 12 committees, and so you break those up into two work sessions, and then we make those work sessions match the breakout rooms, and we set up the room in a circle around the puck mic, and inside Zoom over there, you just make sure that your puck mic is set as the microphone. That's kind of been our number one issue is people will get a complaint um, that they can't hear very well, and it's because that's set to the webcam. So we do have to have a floater tech person that floats around the rooms, or is available just to make sure if something goes wrong, then they can kind of solve that, because we did find that issue early on, is that, especially when we were using wireless mics, we were trying to use wireless mics so that as people were speaking, they could pass around the mic, but 6 wireless mics, even trying to go different brands, your mileage may vary, and we were getting crosstalk and they weren't working, and it was just not good. So finally we're like, let's just make people sit in a circle, and not a big deal. But yeah, as people would come in, 15 minutes before the breakout rooms would start, they'd be asking, hey, could you send me to CPC? Can you send me to Grapevine? And then, obviously our Zoom admins have to be there in order to welcome them. And I'm thinking I'm going to take an idea from NAATW with their, I forget what they call it, like a Zoom ambassador or something. They usually have somebody with a really friendly face that can be the interface for Zoom. And I think that's a great idea. And I think we're going to try to implement that if I can sneak that in. So, what yeah, we've talked about that. Zoom admins communicate with the Zoom participants to move them to the breakout rooms and to get their naming conventions set right. So the software that we use to accomplish, and I had meant to get a video of this from our last event, but I didn't do it. So using OBS Studio, which is a software that people use, it's free, but people use it for streaming and recording. You're able to set up different scenes. I don't know, am I sharing my whole thing here? It might not work well. because so you can set up scenes and then you can add the cameras into the scenes. So if you set up a scene and you call it podium cam and you add the correct webcam for that, then you add another scene and you call it floor cam. Then once you launch Streamlabs, now the only reason why you need Streamlabs is if you're going to use that device that has all the buttons, the Stream Deck. Streamlabs talks to OBS and lets you use those scenes and bring those scenes in and lets you create new scenes dynamically. And it sounds complicated, but it's really not. And typically, like I said, we podium, floor cam, crowd cam, some variation of those that have a small version of the podium cam and a large version of the floor cam, or vice versa. If we're doing third legacy voting, we'll put a camera on a whiteboard just so that we can keep track of the tallies, and we might we might put the podium in the top right hand corner small with the whiteboard bigger so that as votes are being counted, you can see the chairperson doing that. Um, and yeah, I don't have a picture of our Stream Deck in, but on the Stream Deck, it'll give you a little icon. You can have text on there, so you can literally have it say podium, or you could use a picture. You know, you could do pictures. It's really clever the way that you can do it. But from a budgeting perspective, Area 26 owned a lot of the audio equipment already. So it was pretty much a matter of buying buying the PC and then buying the breakout rooms. Uh, a lot of people, a lot of the PA equipment, a lot of people already have that, and it's really cheap, especially you can get that second hand for next to nothing. Our 2 year budget, our budget's a little bit, it looks inflated because they wanted to roll our officer laptops and different equipment under the tech budget. In hindsight, we're probably going to be undoing that because it makes it look like technology needs a whole lot of money to get by when we really don't. Our biggest expense is we send 2 people to NAATW, and so we budget $750 a person per year. So $6,500 budget, 3,000 of that's in AATW. Now we don't always have to spend that. This last time we roomed up to save money, but we just wanted to be aware, if be sensitive to male versus female and things like that. Um, yeah, the officer laptops. I mean, that was $1,000 right there. So 1776 is left, and 1,500 of that is the NATW this year. So we really haven't spent a whole lot of money. Um, what we replaced a TV, I think, one TV in 3 years, one webcam that just kind of went out. And I mean, other than that, some various cabling and some batteries and things like that. It has been from a manpower perspective. So one person typically runs the PC, and that's kind of the PC, the mixer, and the Stream Deck. And then the other person, who we call the tech helper. Now we do allow the tech helper to be reimbursed for their hotel room and mileage. That was something that we put in place, I think, about 2 years ago. We thought it was important to try to get a commitment from someone. And I mean, I was so new, I didn't have an opinion on what that meant. But they decided to do that. And honestly, it's been me most of the time. We have, hopefully, my cohort, Ruth W, is in the meeting, and she, I think, is now the last couple events has started to learn everything, and I think is going to be instrumental in helping us continue. And that's one of the things I'll talk about here in a minute is the spirit of rotation, right? It's one of the things us techie people worry about because a lot of the other committees, you don't have to have specific knowledge, subject matter expertise in that domain. I mean, obviously it's nice if you do, but you don't have to lead a committee, whereas, or to help out. But a lot of times, and we're trying to minimize the technology needed the technology knowledge needed in order to set all this stuff up. But, it's kind of the nature of the beast. But anyway, so one helper for that side projector slash the documents slash interfacing with the chair. Like if we have to tell them how many votes are on Zoom, or there's some way that we have to communicate with them. Um, and this person, this helper, can also help with the Stream Deck and the mixer if the gain needs to be adjusted, or if the wrong camera is set up. Sometimes we'll forget that it's still on floor cam and the chair will be speaking and stuff like that. I'm making this sound way more complicated than it is. It's really pretty smooth. And then at least one, preferably two Zoom admins, and they can be off-site. Like the Zoom admins could literally be a new sponsee or something that, could literally just help out with Zoom. There are specific hours when the Zoom activity is more important to be admin than others, right? So right before those breakout rooms or during the breakout rooms, and then before voting is going to happen, we need to get the naming convention nailed down. And the issue with, obviously is not everybody responds right away. If you say, hey, what's your role? Are you a GSR or DCM, whatever? Not everybody responds. Okay. Then, yeah, I already mentioned the two floater helpers on Saturday during the two. So just a history of the spirit of rotation for us, from a hybrid perspective. So the very first hybrid event was March in 2022. And a day before that, the tech chair left AA. Like they were setting up on a Friday and they couldn't find him. And I think he might have showed up drunk. So, and just kind of the nature of the way that kind of was laid out, he kind of really was the only one that kind of knew everything. Um, hadn't been a whole lot of delegation, stuff like that, which is, could have contributed to him feeling like he had the world on his shoulders and stuff. But during that event, a tech savvy member of AA stepped up, Jeremy G. He took over. It wasn't perfect, but it worked. That was my first area meeting ever attending. Just happened to be their first hybrid, and I was attending remotely. And they couldn't hear me talk, but I could hear them. So some part of the hybrid was working, and I probably didn't have anything to say anyway. I was newly sober. What did I know? But so it all worked out. They couldn't hear people on the phone, but that's okay. It all worked out. Um, and so then he became the next tech chair. They ratified him as the next tech chair, I think, in the following meeting. And I was, I had kind of shown up, newly sober. He was available there at the time, and so that's I just keep saying, like, God will provide, right? It works out. And then a year after that, Tyler F., who's our current tech chair, he began to get involved. He came to the area meeting. I think he was being groomed because he was a DCM and he kept being a DCM. Like every 2 years, he would be the DCM because he was afraid that his district was going to go dark. And finally, somebody just said, "You got to let it go, like for your own growth, and we need you over here, and just got to let it go." And now he's the tech chair. Somebody else stepped into that DCM role. It works out, you know. If we just stop trying to fix, manage, and control and clear away the wreckage of our future, as my sponsor likes to say. Issues faced over the year, or over the years. Yeah, crucial tech committee member leaving, the equipment failure at the event. I've talked about that. USB bandwidth is not high enough to run full 1080p on all three cameras. So that was a gremlin that haunted us for several events. Couldn't figure out why one camera would just drop entirely. Finally, figured out that if we take each camera and just lower them to 480i, but it looks good. I mean, it doesn't look bad. And quite honestly, you guys don't need to see everybody in 4K anyway. Um, so yeah, so that's a thing. Um, but we built this PC and we still can't do it. And so I don't know if it's a limitation in Zoom. I don't know what the limitation is. I'm sure it's solvable. It's just never been a big enough issue for us to solve. So, yeah, so I mentioned in-house rental equipment not working as promised. And so the solution for that is bring what you need all the time. And it's a little bit of an extra pain because obviously we've got to transport 4 speakers and the amp. Um, and we have to hook it up because we were at another event where overhead system, but there was a partition that could be dynamically put down, and that was the plan, was to put that partition down to make 2 breakout rooms. So I guess the PA system, the overhead system, was set to when the wall came down to separate the two. So it did that, but then when the wall comes back up, it's supposed to reconnect, and it never did reconnect. So the people in the back of the room couldn't hear, and so and we didn't have it set up to we didn't have it set up. So now the way that we get around that is we hook up our speaker system every time. That way, if we have to, we can just dynamically kind of bob and weave and add, call some audibles and whatever we need to do. Um, and that includes having backup webcam in case you lose one, backup, um, crap, drawing a blank, backup TV. So yeah, any equipment we can have as a backup. See, not being able to get in a day before to do the setup. So the setup, how long it takes us is kind of a question mark right now because it's a little bit different every time. Now, this most recent time, we talked to Tyler because Tyler does a lot of the setup as the tech chair. He's been taking the equipment with him, but we made sure we said, Tyler, you need to not set up. You need to let Ruth set up because Tyler can set up, I can set up, but we're trying to teach. And so somehow we did it faster than we ever have. And I was completely hands off, and Tyler was very hands off. And so I don't know if it's a girl power thing. I don't know what it is, but so because historically we've wanted to get in on Friday. Uh, if some of the chairs start at 9 a.m., if we start at 9 a.m. and it historically takes us, I mean, if you go back a year when we were starting at 9 a.m., it was taking us 4 hours to set up. I think this past time we got it down to 2, I want to say. And I mean, I even think there's ways we could get it down to even less if we take equipment that has everything plugged in and maybe we buy like a Pelican case and we keep it kind of all plugged up. It's just an idea. But anyway, if you can't get in Friday or if it costs extra money and people are grumbling about that, one of the places does want to charge us $700 to get in on a Friday. Um, so, that's extra money. Oh, and in Bowling Green, we showed up to set up on Friday and they had rented the room out. So they violated their contract and rented the room out to another event on Friday. So that was fun. That's when you really get to practice these principles. Put your big book where your mouth is. Wi-Fi bandwidth issues, yeah, we all know about those. I mean, if you have a private Wi-Fi, don't give it out. Uh, I we were at a school and I knew we didn't have a whole lot of bandwidth. I think I'd done a test when only I had access to it, and I knew we had 50 megabit. And I was like, all right, we can work with that because just in case you don't know, individual Zoom clients need 5. If you're in gallery view, you need 20 per 50 people. But then I went to the registration table and I saw it written everywhere somebody had written it down, handwritten it, was passing it out, put it on like every table. And I was like, no. I went around and grabbed it. Um, so yeah, Wi-Fi issues, obviously. I've not had a lot of luck with hardwiring. I thought that would be a thing, so I made sure we had all the equipment to hardwire. It's not really a thing, and I don't even know if you could. I don't even think you could just plug in. I think one place they had it. I said, "Hey, do you have a hardwire that we could connect?" Yeah, we do. So we hooked in. It didn't work, right? Because they don't want people. They don't want just anybody being able to plug in. So then somebody probably has to go back there, and I don't know if they got to put a patch cable in. I don't know what they have to do, but it hardwire just has not worked for me. Um, Outstanding concerns. Yeah, documentation. You know how that is. No IT guys want to do documentation. We're gonna have to get like a tech writer on the technology committee for that to get good. Spirit of rotation, like I said, it's just always worked out. You know, um, I had some heartburn about this early on, and then as I got a little more, I don't know, whatever spiritual, whatever you want to call it, it's like, yeah, it has just always worked out. Making the setup as easy and non-technical as possible. I talked about that. It's you usually get a lot of people around you when you're setting these up, and people are like, "How can I help?" And it's like, "Yeah, I don't really know how to tell you to help." So, but that's on us too. We could probably have a bag of cables and label them somehow better, and they could just run the cables, and maybe we could pretty it up. I don't know. Keeping tech committee members engaged and willing to learn the ropes. We've got Ruth now. She's been a tremendous help, and I think she's gonna help us out a lot. And because I'm a GSR now, and so for the first couple years I was tech committee, and then I was GSR. And so as I was at these meetings, I was like, man, I really want to leave tech alone and just kind of be there as a GSR. And so it's nice to have other people. Our current structure doesn't have an alternate tech committee chair. I think when I'm not spiritually fit, I really get torn up about this alternate tech.
We lost you, Scott.
He's fixing it.
Batteries.
We can be patient.
My headphones just die.
Yep, there you go.
Gotcha.
Okay. Hopefully it wasn't. What did we hear? Spirit spirit of rotation.
Oh, the making the setup an easy.
Okay. So yeah, just making it as easy as and non-technical as possible. So part of me would love to just
Get up.
jam stuff in a box that still had cables and pull it out ready to go, but we'll see where we
What
go
about
with
the
that.
alternate chair?
Oh, we were all okay, good. Just happened then. All right, so yeah, alternate chair. So yeah, I mean, I feel like the tech committee is different than the other committees. I feel like they kind of need an alternate tech committee chair. And maybe that's because I've got PTSD from the last uh or this whatever two before leaving. Um, somebody who is committed. But do you need a title for that? No, not really. I'm committed and I don't need the title. But like I said, maybe it's when my ego's involved and I'm like, I need the title. But so having the committee meetings at the event adds a level of cost and complexity. So all of those 12 committees, um, it does add cost to the hotel. It adds cost. We have to have all that, you know, if somebody was wanting to, if somebody's not doing hybrid right now and they wanted to start doing hybrid, that would be a way of cutting the cost in the beginning, is you just have the committee meetings a couple weeks ahead of time. You still have them ahead of time so you can still give report, but then you don't have to have a hybrid committee meeting, which does add a level of complexity. People have to go and set up those breakout rooms. Now we do have instructions on how to set that up, but you've got to set up 6 of them. And so, there's a big TV bag that has the computer, has everything in it. It's just one bag. It's a breakout room bag, and it just holds a 42-inch TV. But it's a thing. And then one outstanding concern that I have is very little consistency with venues. Man, I would love to be in the same venue every 3 months, but you end up inconveniencing someone because people are coming from other parts of the state. So some people like it to sometimes be in their neighborhood, and sometimes the people on the other side of the state want it in their neighborhood. So even if we could get to doing like 2 and 2, so that we at least know what we have an established relationship, but having to learn new facilities. And for some reason, no matter how many times I ask the DCMs, hey, engage tech, please. Now, the flip side of that is, why don't I engage them? I should. I could. That's my part in it. I could, a month before the event, say, hey, can I go out and see the venue? Can I test the in-house system? Whatever. I could do that. But anyway, so they don't engage with us, so we don't have consistency, and we don't know when these new venues come up what we have and what we don't have. But the way we mitigate that is to just have everything all the time. What are we doing? Okay, possible upgrades and improvements we're looking at, maybe wireless tech. So I mentioned that wireless HDMI for that side projector. Is there a wireless PA system that's a thing? And when I say that, I don't just want to get that. I just want to know, how much is it? How much is it? And once we know how much it is, as a technology committee, do we feel like it's worth it to not have to run XLR cables? I don't know, because that's kind of the extent of it. Um, Wireless cameras. I don't even know if they make wireless cameras. I mean, I know they make them, but I don't know how they would work with Zoom, and if there'd be a lag between what you hear in Zoom and what you see. So, but it's a thing. Cat 6 cameras, such as the PTZ cameras. PTZ cameras are what, it's my understanding, it's what Tech 12 uses. Now, I went to NAATW, and I was keenly paying attention to the Zoom stuff. I never saw them PTZ one time. So PTZ means pan tilt zoom, by the way. And they use a Cat 6 cable, and so you can do fancy stuff with them. You got to have a fancier controller. I think when I was listening to I think it was the Washington one on their hybrid, like they use the same thing like a newscasting thing uses, like um, and so anyway, but that would eliminate the need for long USB cables, and then you could just use Cat 6 cables, and that's just a network cable, so it's easy. But there's a question, could you convert that to wireless? I don't know. And then upgrades and just an improvement. We need a more active Zoom admin, I think, like the NAATW does. I can't remember her name, but she was just cute as a button, and I think made the Zoom experience really engaging. You felt more of it, and then she can interface with the in-person room if she needs to, and it felt very seamless. I liked that a lot. And then, well, I got 10 more minutes, so I could talk about it. Third Legacy is kind of it's a different animal than just you just trying to use naming conventions, because I mean, I don't want to say it's more important that voting be accurate, but it needs to be more tightly controlled. At least that's what I've gotten from our chair in our area. So the way that we do it, the way that we did it, I've only done it one time, but the way that we did it was, we had a main Zoom room and a breakout room. And the breakout room was just for people that are going to watch. So basically, if you weren't a voting member, you got moved to the breakout room. Inside the breakout room was a Zoom admin that was streaming the event, and they were just sharing their screen. And so they were sharing it it's kind of technical, but basically from OBS, the software that we already use for the cameras, you can stream it to YouTube. So you stream it to a private YouTube link that nobody has except that Zoom admin in the breakout room, and he's just viewing it. And everybody else, their chat's turned off, like interactions are turned off, like it's just there's nothing to it. They're just watching what's going on. But in the main room, you're controlling, the waiting room is on when voting's going on. You're controlling the naming convention. You've checked that, the people are the ones that are supposed to be voting. And for the voting part of it, it's accomplished through Zoom polls. Now, I don't know if this just if you're taking notes on how to do Third Legacy, I don't know if this still exists, but 2 years ago there was an issue with Zoom. They've probably fixed it, but who knows? Where you couldn't dynamically create polls, so you had to have polls created ahead of time. And I'm talking about from the website, from zoom.us. So just keep an eye on that if you're going to try to do that. And anybody that wants to do Third Legacy through Zoom, I'd be happy to help. What I'd recommend is setting up one ahead of time, like do a practice run. And even with all the cameras, get all the equipment. I brought it all home. I had a little stuffed animal on a little fake podium, and I was switching them and I was testing things, and it was a lot of fun. But yeah, so you put up the Zoom polls, everything's anonymous, so only the Zoom admin sees the results. What we did was we wrote on the on a piece of paper after the voting was done. I wrote down what the votes were, just tallies, and then handed that to the chair. And when she was done tallying everything in the room, she I wonder if I could. Well, it's not. But anyway, I would write it on there, and then she would just add it to the tally, and that would be the representation from Zoom. And it worked well. It worked really well, and you can dynamically adjust those if somebody drops out. So if round one goes and then 3 people drop out, you can edit those polls on the fly and remove people. And it worked really well. Oh, did I have this? That's fine. I think that's all I've got. Well, here, I did do a thing. I did do a thing. We could do this. I don't know if I can share audio.
Corey.
So this would have been the view from the watch party.
Corey.
I was trying to get the view for you guys. So see, there's where I wrote from the Zoom.
Corey.
And she's reading it
Corey.
now. She's reading. I just handed it to her. She's
Corey.
reading the results.
Corey. Corey.
So.
Corey. Corey.
And the feedback we got was universally that people loved it. They felt connected. They felt a part of. They were very, very appreciative to be able to do it remotely. And the first time, I guess we did that during COVID. I don't even know. I think they paid Tech 12 just to do the Zoom part to hybrid, and it was a lot of money. So it doesn't have to be. I'm willing to help anybody that would like some help with their hybrid stuff. I guess now I can take some questions.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks, Scott, for his presentation. And now we will move into the questions and sharing. If you have a question on a topic or would like to share your own experience on the topic, please raise your virtual hand. Please keep your share to 3 minutes or less. If your share does reach the 3-minute time, we will give you a gentle reminder to wrap up. So we're going to open the floor for questions. Sean.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Sean S., Area 33's web chairperson. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about how, was it OBS interfaces with Zoom? Um, just kind of how does that work? Is it appear as basically like a virtual camera that you would then select in Zoom? Like I know I have like a USB webcam or on board. Does it show up as like a third camera that you would share, or how does it work?
Yeah, so it actually is exactly a virtual camera. I don't know if you can see because this is probably a 4K resolution, but this bottom right here in the middle, start virtual camera. So you click that start virtual camera, and then in your Zoom under your camera setting, you'll be able to select OBS virtual camera. And so that's the way that you can do that.
Excellent. Thank you.
Brett.
Red Alcoholic. Awesome presentation, Scott. Thank you. Yeah, with our experience, we actually use OBS as well, and we can do overlays like welcome assembly. I mean, it's pretty awesome. You can connect multiple cameras to one PC if you choose. Zoom, as you mentioned, Scott, you were wondering about the 1080p. You're restricted to 720p on Zoom unless you purchase, a corporate account for Zoom or something like that, and they'll open the bandwidth up for you. We started in Area 34, 2020, with 2 laptops, and it's really grown, and we're pretty proud of our setup. It takes us an hour to set up in the morning, which we're pretty proud of. We do use a PTZ, a little one, an OBS actual, and it is helpful, especially if the tech table's got to be set up further away from the officer's table. We can zoom right in, and if they're passing the mic along the officer's table, we can pan to that, and we also bring that through the OBS. And I bring along personally a Canon and use a web utility through Canon, and then through that web utility, I go through OBS that way as well. Um, uh, but as you said, we got 3 people at our tech table, and everybody has a certain job. We're watching chat. We can set up the breakout rooms because we meet 10 times a year, and it's at different spots every time. Um, and it can be a pain, that's for sure, as far as traveling and getting equipment, and someone gets sick and we need to get somebody over to grab the sound system. But where was I going? Um, as far as the setup, yeah, 3 people, one on chat. Oh, breakout rooms. We set it to where they can go in themselves and click what room they want to go into for the chair. We label the breakout rooms like um, literature or treatment, and they can just go into the room that they want. I think that was about all that I had. If I think of something else and we have time, I'll bring it up. Thank you again, Scott.
Thank you. I didn't realize that was a feature, so I'm sending an email right now that we got to figure out this whole breakout room thing. I mean, I
There's
guess
three
maybe.
choices. There's 3 choices, and the bottom choice allow users to pick their own room, something like that.
All right. Perfect.
Go ahead, Susan.
Hi, everybody. I'm Susan. I'm an alcoholic,
Hi, Susan.
and I am Area 92 virtual host, and we do use Zoom. I have been the host for the past year and a half. I co-hosted before that. On the breakout rooms, just one, in my experience, some people have never been able to figure out how to let themselves into a room. And so I still need to be there
Oh,
to
yeah.
help, I affectionately call them my problem children. I know who they are. Um, I love the idea if I make it accessible to one alcoholic, that's what it's about. And on the voting, we actually use zone polls for everything. Third legacy voting is actually pretty, like Scott said, pretty simple. I'm also more curious about the OBS. I'm going to dig into your stuff and look more into that. Thank you. Oh, and by the way, we are not the Washington area that has $30,000 worth of equipment.
You're not the money guys.
No, that is Area 72, and their assemblies, they actually have like 800 to 900 people.
Oh, wow.
And they've been building their team for quite a few years now. No, we actually have a cheaper budget than you.
It can be done. It's
Yep.
it's not bad.
Thank you, Susan. Go ahead,
Oh,
Don. Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
Don Larson, Don Alcoholic, and I'm from Area 06, which is Northern California. And I'm the hybrid event coordinator for our area. And thank you for your presentation. So you don't have any linguistic districts, so you don't do any interpretation, correct?
correct.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we do in all our area. We meet for an area committee meeting 12 times a year, plus 4 assemblies that rotate across the area. So there's a lot of logistics, and we're able to, this panel, increase our hybrid team to 5 members. So we have 3 on site. For assemblies, we have 4 on site, and then we have 2 online hosts. One is our greeter, our security, and this person also unmutes and helps with lowering hands. And then we have a second person who is our Help IUTA chat host. And this person answers any questions that a Zoom participant has. They have all the documents that they could, help any person with any problems that they have. If they need to get into a breakout room, if they need to turn on interpretation, if there's a problem on Zoom, they communicate directly to me by text, of what they're having problems with. And it really helps the participants feel that they are a participant and not just an audience member. They are getting, reactions back from the help person almost immediately. And they're also copying and pasting, whatever documents or registration forms or whatever directly in there. If we have a motion, they paste the motion in there, both in English and Spanish. And it just really helps keep that communication. So if there is a problem with a mic or whatever, I can't hear the chair, what's going on. We are aware of the situation. We're working on it. Please be patient. And it has really helped over the last panel and into this panel as well. We use Zoom polls and for third legacy voting, we used digital joy for text to vote, and it was pretty amazing on how well it worked. Having 12 different officers being elected, usually going to 5 ballots each election. It really, really helped. And, and people that are sitting at tables that, are not text savvy, there's other members that are just helping them, and it went really well. And because our last election assembly, um, we ran out of time, just because of all the different votes. So anyway, I just wanted to share that information as well. But having online presence for a help chat person has really helped us. So thank you again for your presentation.
Thanks, Don. I really liked what you said about the Zoom participants, making them feel like they're participants instead of just audience members. That's key.
I'm curious. Thank you for your presentation. I'm curious how you guys are rallying participation in your tech committee. We live in a very rural area along the coast of Lake Michigan, and it's challenging to find people who are willing to help. We need a person remotely in the Zoom meeting. We have currently set up a hospitality room, which, I facilitate when people are coming in while people are setting up the equipment. And so that's helped a lot make the Zoom participants feel welcome. But we have challenges finding people, especially when we have rotation coming up.
Yeah, so we put together a flyer, like I was trying to find it real quick, but basically it was like a nerdy Uncle Sam, and it was like technology committee needs you or wants you or something, and started circulating that, and even sent it to the Kiki Paw, the young people in AA convention locally here, and yeah, I mean, just really stressed it. Uh, at the area meeting itself, we every time there's a what's on your mind, it's the first thing I always say. If you're especially this if you have a I don't even know if I'm supposed to say if you have a younger person anymore, but I mean, I'm like 46, so evidently I'm old, but you know what I mean? Younger people, historically speaking, whatever, are technology. Anyway, my point is, we're all getting sponsees. We are all meeting new people in AA. So this is an opportunity to be of service. Most of it does not require super hardcore technical knowledge. Most of this stuff, in my opinion, with what people are learning these days, I think they can handle it. I mean, everybody deals with Zoom. So if nothing else, people can help with Zoom. But anyway, my point is I put it out there. When I go to different workshops and things like that, I'm always looking for people. And if somebody, especially is talking about a new sponsee with service work, I really try to hammer this particular the tech committee stuff.
Dave G.
Thank you. My name is Dave. I'm an alcoholic, and I'm the current tech committee chair for Washington State East Area 92. And I want to thank, I got two of my people here, and that's part of how this works is having the good people who know what they're doing and are willing to do stuff. And yeah, we're going to have, I think we've been really lucky, but we are coming up on a rotation where a number of the folks have been here for a while. I think we also worked out really fortunate in that we had a web committee before COVID happened, and it naturally grew into tech and got us zooming through hybrid or through COVID. And we had some people that had the foresight to, we need a tech committee, and we did a motion, and we now have a tech committee of several people. We also do the web and the Google Workspace, but and yes, each event is a challenge. Once we were at a hotel, we expected great bandwidth, and it wasn't. But the hotspots worked at that place. We're and I have to admit, I just walked into one of the ones we're going to have for our July, and I got so concentrated on the layout of the room that I didn't pull up my phone and check the bandwidth of the Wi-Fi while I was there. So I'm hoping that university will have a good bandwidth. It's and I really appreciate having our Zoom hosts too, because that really is part of it. Is you need some people that are paying attention to the very little aspects of it. And one of the things that has happened for us is that our alternate chair was officially the web committee chair before the tech committee existed, and then that job went into the tech committee, and the alternate chair at the time was someone who had been on the web committee and said, well, you took that away from me, I don't have any job anymore. But she did a great job of liaising between the tech committee and the Zoom people and the chair at the podium, because she's right there. And fortunately, our current alternate chair has also stepped up to do that. And so, we have somebody on a laptop on Zoom sitting at the dais right next to the chair running the room. And then the soundboard, is over, and it works out. We've had, like Scott was saying, we've had some difficulties, but we haven't ever had a full-fledged meltdown. And we're getting better at our break rooms, and we're trying to do what was said of making it a good experience for the people that are around. Um, we do 2 breakouts on our sessions, but our standing committees meet separately, again, 4 times a year. And originally they were expected to do hybrid too, or we were expected, but that wasn't working out. So we don't do our committee meetings hybrid, although most of our committees meet through our Google Workspace once a month. And so they're meeting frequently, and that's good. So anyway, thank you for letting me babble for a while.
Sure. Ruth.
Hi, my name's Ruth and I'm an alcoholic. And thank you, Scott, so much for your presentation. And I am part of Area 26 and have been jumping in as the tech helper and knew nothing about any sort of technology. And just walking through it, just kind of like walking through the steps, just one step at a time, it can be done. And it's great news that I can share with other people that it isn't as scary as it seems. So thanks for letting me share.
Sure. We got about 15 minutes if anybody else wants to share. Go ahead, Brett.
I just wanted to add, I forgot to mention our third legacy. I like the whiteboard because we had done that in the past. What we actually did was put it onto a tablet and connected the tablet and did the whiteboard through Zoom. Just another thought. Thanks.
That's cool. Anybody else? Okay, well, we can end a little early, I guess. We had another presenter scheduled to do like a district setup. It was a smaller kind of thing, but she's got very sick and she can't talk. So
And it was a Google Meets example.
This ends our sharing session. Thank you to our presenter. Our next sharing session is on April 29th. Our tentative topic, which is perfect segue, is digital voting platforms. So if any of you have any experience on this topic, please contact us. Please engage in our Slack channel. We have a few announcements before we close tonight. The 2025 National AA Technology Workshop is scheduled for November 7th to the 9th, 2025 in Cincinnati, Ohio. Is anybody going? Okay. And also, the 2025 International Convention of Alcoholics Anonymous is scheduled for Independence Day weekend in this coming July 3rd through the 6th in Vancouver, Canada. Who's going? Okay. Maybe we can find out where you are and say hello. Does anybody have any other announcements for the good of the AA technology community or AA as a whole?
Can you post the Slack channel here? Is there like a hyperlink, like the full thing, or?
Yeah.
Brett's gotcha.
Thank you.
And what else? Where am I here? Okay. If you think of any announcements, please post them in the Slack channels. Everybody have the Slack channel information? Okay. We'll now close tonight's meeting with the Declaration of Unity. Everybody can unmute and share. This we owe to
AIDS
Future.
place our common welfare first,
First.
keep our fellowship
United
for on
AA unity
and our
with
lives,
lives
of
and the
those.
lives of those to come.
Thank you, guys. See you on Slack, or we'll see you next month.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thanks. This is
Thank
great.
Thank you. Thanks, Scott. Great
Thank you all.
presentation.
Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks, Scott.
I will get it in the document for you, Scott, in the archives folder.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate what you do.
Thank you. We appreciate you too.
You as well. Oh, better stop the recording.